It's the Let's Go Eat and Drink Show with Jimmy Santangelo and Bill Allred. I'm your announcer, Zach Caton, and this episode finds Jimmy and Bill at the Park City Culinary Institute, 1484 South State Street in downtown Salt Lake City. Their guest is the Culinary Institute's director and owner, Laurie Moldawer. Laurie has gathered together some of the region's most talented chefs to share those talents with people who want to become chefs themselves. The Park City Culinary Institute has trained a new generation of cuisine masters for the hottest restaurants and breweries in Utah. The Institute also offers classes for people who just want to learn to be more comfortable in their own home kitchens. Now, here's Laurie with Jimmy and Bill.
That's why we have you wear the headphones. You'll be able to tell your voice.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, so you got it.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like your earrings.
Oh, thank you.
It's awesome. What are you doing over there?
Moving some stuff. Sure. Well, are you done messing around?
Yeah, I'll leave my hands here.
What is that shirt you're wearing? Cruise Tooele Tech Days.
Wow. That's they're celebrating the fax machine.
They just got one in the city office. Have you ever heard my story about fax machines? Years and years ago, when I was working in radio, we were working up in Ogden, this little radio station, and faxing had not really become a thing yet. But then it started. People said, "Well, let me fax this over to you. Let me fax this, that," and we didn't have a fax machine, and we said, "Well, we don't have a fax machine. Can you just stick it in the mail, or can you run it over, or whatever?" So finally, we keep saying to the boss, "We need a fax machine. We have to get a fax machine." And he said, "We are not getting a fax machine. Faxing is a fad."
A fad.
It's a fad.
It was a fad. It came and
well,
it went.
you know what? Tom was just kind of a nutty. He was the owner and the manager, and he was kind of nutty. Brilliant radio guy, but just kind of nutty. And faxing is a fad. But finally, he realized we did need a fax machine, and we got one, and so forth. But I was telling that story just a couple of weeks ago, and somebody said exactly what you said. Well, it was a fad. I went, God, it's true. He was right.
He was totally right.
He was right. Anyway, I just love that. All right, we're ready to go here?
I think we're ready to go. Dawson, we ready to go?
Yeah.
Do you
Okay.
prefer Jimmy or Jim?
What?
You can call me Jimmy. Yeah, but James actually.
You can call me Jimmy. You can call me Jimmy. Just don't call him late for dinner.
Late for a glass of wine. Yeah.
Which one do you want?
Jimmy's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with. It's so funny because my name tag in the professional environment is always James. But that was a code for when the hosts would, a guest would come up. Because I worked in a lot of hotel properties, or maybe word of mouth people would come in. Like, yes, I'd like a reservation. Please make sure I get sat with James or in his section. Mm-hmm. So the host would know, this guy doesn't know Jimmy. But so the key was if they asked for Jimmy, then the host would do everything they could for him.
Got really special treatment if they asked for Jimmy.
Or they got at least sat in my section.
Because it was they knew it was a personal friend.
They knew it was a personal friend.
Yeah. I've always called you Jimmy.
Yeah,
Jimmy the wine guy.
When you didn't swear at me.
Or Splishy Splashy Jimmy. That was the name I made up, or my wife and I made up for Jimmy.
On the spot. On the spot. Mm-hmm. It was a response to our first encounter.
Yeah, he was the sommelier at Donovan's Steakhouse, and I guess this is part of the show. We haven't officially begun yet, but this will be part of it. So maybe I'll start my timer anyway. So just to get that story out of the way quickly, Jimmy was the we're here with Laurie Moldawer. She's she's the chief cook and bottle washer at the Park City Culinary Institute, and we'll actually talk to her in just a moment. But to go back to the story that's, I'm sure, exciting for everyone to hear. Jimmy was the sommelier at Donovan's. My wife and I went in there, had never met him before. He comes to the table. He's very charming. And he kept saying, well, maybe you'd like to try just a little splishy splashy of this.
Splishy splash.
A little splishy splash. A little splishy splash. And so he became, to my wife and I, splishy splashy Jimmy. And that's
gonna
that.
Stick.
Yeah, and it stuck for years.
Yeah. So let's get this thing going officially. Here we are with the Let's Go Eat and Drink show, starring Splishy Splashy Jimmy Santangelo, and I'm Bill Allred. And here we are with our guest, Laurie Moldawer. First, I want to thank our fine sponsor, and then we'll get into talking to Laurie about what the Park City Culinary Institute is all about. But our prime sponsor, and we have some beautiful cheese here laid out. In a league of its own, Utah's Beehive Cheese uplifts modest cheddar to artisanal greatness with spirited flavors that spark conversation. Producing award-winning cheeses that bring friends and family together, Beehive Cheese earned first place at the 2024 International Cheese Dairy Awards for Best Cheese in the USA and took home silver at the World Cheese Awards 2023. Beehive Cheese is also one of only 7 American cheesemakers to be B Corp certified. Now, when they first gave me this copy, Laurie, it said B Corp certified, but it didn't explain to me what that was. What I would look up and say, what's B Corp certified? Well, Jimmy didn't really, I don't think you really knew.
We only anticipated what it was, guessed what it was.
Do you know what it is?
I don't.
Here it is right here. B Corp certification is a designation that a business is meeting high standards of verified performance, accountability, and transparency on factors from employee benefits, charitable giving, to supply chain practices and input materials. Now, I don't know who the bees are that make that certification, but they're...
Well, let's raise a glass to Laurie.
All right.
Oh,
Cheers.
What is this we're drinking here?
So
Cheers.
we're enjoying this Moscato d'Asti from Dallaterra Importers. This is a Moscato grape variety, Italy, Piedmont. This is an off-dry selection. So what they do is they stop fermentation, leaving all that richness in there of sweetness of fruit. That's the grape juice. It's only about 6% alcohol by volume. Figuring this is such a beautiful Sunday morning, I wanted to do that. And we're enjoying this with the Red Hatch Beehive cheese. Now, Red Hatch chilies, right? So whenever you pair something that's moderately spicy food-wise, you want something a little off-dry, something that sweetness will temper down that spiciness, but then the underlying acidity in the wine will cleanse the palate of any residual flavor of the food. So Moscato d'Asti and Red Butte Chili Hatch cheese. Beehive.
Laurie Moldawer. She is the director and owner of the Park City Culinary Institute, located here in downtown Salt Lake, where we are right now on a Sunday morning. And I've been here before, but it's a beautiful place, a setup for people to come and learn how to cook, and people to can people get various certifications here, be as chefs and so forth, like Jimmy does.
With wine?
With wine, you can do that with food here at Park City Culinary Institute.
We do.
Park City has trained local stars and a new generation of cuisine masters for the hottest restaurants and breweries in Utah and worldwide. The Institute was also featured in The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City.
Awesome.
Laurie, thanks for having us here, by the way.
Thank you for filming here, too. This is a ton of fun to be here together.
Now, tell us a little bit about... it says here some of your stars. Can you talk about some of the stars that have come out of the Park City Culinary Institute?
So I can tell you we have stars who've graduated, but I don't want to take the credit because they were stars before they came.
Oh, I see.
So we have some really interesting alumni. For example, the founder of Crumble Cookies. I wish we could say we taught him how to bake, but we had nothing to do with that. The founder of Kodiak Cakes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
They came for fun, right? Because this is where you come for fun when you love food and you want to expand your repertoire.
Sharpen up your skills, as it were.
Yeah.
Become fearless in the kitchen. I'm reading the byline under Park City Culinary Institute. That's great.
That's really what we're trying to do, is just build confidence and basically help people throw out the recipes that they've been relying on, right? So most people rely on recipes, and most books or recipes you find online are wrong. They're missing key details of the technique. So we're teaching the techniques so that you understand how to get the results you want. And you could look at a recipe and say, they kind of have it, but they missed a few things. I'm going to do it the way I learned in school. And it just transforms the way you cook.
That's
or
great.
bake.
I've done a lot of cooking in my life, and I've always been a very astute recipe follower. That's what I know. I'm going to go by the recipe. I've got to go by my wife will say, well, you could just, and I say, no, No, I've got to go by the recipe and the steps and steps and steps. And I've been I'm still reluctant to sort of move off book, as it were. And but you become better at reading a recipe too. And you read a recipe and you go, no, that won't work, or that won't be something that I'd like or my family would like. I'll find something that suits. But I follow the blueprint. And I'd like to be. My wife can just go to the refrigerator and go, well, let's see,
a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Okay, I know what I'll do. I can't do that. I'm not a creative.
Probably
You need to come to school here.
Yeah, I bet. And then you can read off script because your theater training, right? I mean, you got to know your lines. Probably not a lot of improv, and you got to help them improv cooking wise.
Yeah,
look at that.
How do you do that? How do you train people to do that or teach them to do that?
We focus on the techniques in the food science. So I'll give you an example. The recipe where I failed once many years ago was where you had to put chunks of meat in a pot. But it didn't say don't crowd the pot. And my meat came out gray. It didn't brown, and I couldn't understand why. So in culinary school, you learn about the Maillard reaction, and that's when you caramelize. It's not just meat, but you can caramelize onions, you can caramelize vegetables. And in order for the meat to caramelize, it has to be dry. So you have to actually pat down the meat, remove all that outside moisture with a paper towel or whatever you can do to get that moisture off the meat, and then you can't crowd your pot. Because when you crowd your pot, you get steam. So my meat came out gray because it was steaming instead of caramelizing.
Wow.
And so those are just simple techniques that make a huge difference. Deglazing a pot, that's another one. A lot of people, when they finish cooking meat, they throw out the dirty pot or they throw it to the dishwasher. The spouse is going to clean dishes because, the other spouse is cooking. And that's the most precious part.
That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff. That's the fund.
Little wine.
The French word fund,
Yeah.
Exactly. You take wine, or if you don't want to drink wine, you could do stock or water. I like wine. And you get a wooden spoon and you get all that fund
Scrape it
melted
up.
into it. I mean, these are like key critical things that people don't know. And you might see a little bit of on YouTube, but not enough to really understand all the different techniques available. Right? There's so many different things.
How to
that you
read
can
a
learn.
recipe.
Yeah.
And you're filling in some of those blanks for people. What was your, and I'm sure you're going to ask this, Bill, but what was your inspiration to provide a cooking school? Like, what was your first meal? Like, do you love cooking? Were you inspired, or you're more inspired to inspiring other people?
I am more inspired into inspiring other people to cook for me. How did you know that?
Did you want to be a chef? It says here that you studied at Cordon Bleu. Did you want to be a chef yourself? And
I never really thought it through. I went to Cordon Bleu for fun, and it was just fun. And when I was there, I volunteered at a restaurant. It was in Paris, and so I found a Michelin star restaurant that let me walk in the door and volunteer in the kitchen. But it wasn't like I had this ultimate goal of becoming a chef. I just wanted to be exposed to all of it. I wanted to deconstruct all the dishes that I was seeing. And like there was this amazing pasta dish that the chef was making. I wanted to understand how he made it. So that's what my goal was to just understand it.
is this because of your love of food from just from the beginning of your life, as far as you can remember?
I wonder when it started. When I was a kid, I would wake up on weekends and write a menu for my parents.
What?
I did. I really did that.
This is what you mean, like, this is what I would like to eat today.
Grilled cheese on Saturday at 2.
It's what I was going to serve them.
Oh, what you were going to serve.
What I was going to serve them. And what was really funny is I would wake up really early, as kids do, but my parents were late sleepers. So I'd wake up with my brother, 6 or 7, and, we're running around the house, old enough that our parents didn't feel obliged to wake up to supervise.
They're self-managed at this point.
We were self-managed, so I write out the whole menu, I get ready, and I'm all excited. I'm not considering whether or not we have any of the ingredients. I'm just, this is what I plan on serving you all. I'll find a way to make it work. And then my parents would sleep in, and I'd wait, and a couple of hours would pass, and I'd forget by the time they actually woke up that I was going to serve them breakfast. But that was probably the earliest experience I remember.
What do you remember cooking for? What do you remember cooking? The very first thing that you cooked, and you went, "Wow."
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know.
Grilled cheese in there? Grilled cheese, noodles.
Spaghetti.
It might have been Kraft mac and cheese. I don't know. What was the first thing? When you're a kid, what do you make?
I think
A mess.
Probably mac and cheese.
Yeah. Whoop.
Mac and cheese would be most likely what I cooked first because I did a lot of that as a kid.
Peanut butter and jelly. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember making my first tuna sandwich, and then it was just like mayonnaise and tuna, and then I figured, wait a minute, there's some other stuff that could go in here. You could chop up some pickles. You could
that's good.
Put a little chopped up scallion in there, a little, maybe a quarter teaspoon of mustard. It's along with the and then there's so many things you can do, and so I love doing stuff like that. I discovered something the other day you'll think is gross. But I really liked it. I made toasted a bagel, and we had some jam, but we didn't have any cream cheese. So I took some mayonnaise, Duke's mayonnaise, and I spread it on the toasted bagel, and then I put the jam on top of that. And mayonnaise and jam is a really good combination.
I thought maybe the Miracle Whip, but mayo.
Yeah, it was Duke's is kind of a more tangy mayo than than Best Foods or whatever. But and I said to my wife, I've been eating mayonnaise and jam, and she said, what? What a weird combination. I said,
calling the doctor.
Try it. Just try it. It's excellent.
You do mayonnaise for your grilled cheese on the outside and sear 'em, don't you?
Yeah, my son taught me that. When you make a grilled cheese, you put
instead of butter,
you put mayonnaise on the outside and then fry it. And
that's a Maillard reaction right there.
That sounds really good.
It is good. It's great. So, Laurie, who mostly comes to the Park City Culinary Institute?
We have all ages. So anywhere from we can have teenagers, with an exemption, all the way up to our oldest graduate was 80. Mm-hmm. I'd say half of our students are over 40 and the other half are under 40. So we get a lot of people who are semi-retired or changing careers. Those are the over 40, people who want to cook at home or people who want to open up a business later in life. And then the younger students, they're usually in the industry or trying to get into the industry, and they want to be a chef owner one day or run a restaurant. And they're very ambitious, and so they'll come in so that they have an idea of the bigger picture that you don't get just working in a restaurant.
Okay, so how do people find out what's available to them at Park City Culinary Institute, and what specifically is available to them? Are there various programs?
There are, yeah, and so it's all online. Our 3 primary certificates are the cuisine certificate, which is where you learn knife skills. You learn how to cut like a professional chef, which makes a huge difference on the consistency of your food. Everything gets cooked more properly. The texture is improved. And you move on to stocks and sauces, the different techniques to cook meat. You've got dry heat methods, moist heat methods, all the different ways to get meat tender, how to fillet a fish, how to break down a chicken. And we teach fresh pasta. That's a popular part of that class as well. Sourdough bread. So that's a cuisine certificate. Then we have a pastry and baking certificate. That's French pastries. That's the macarons, the eclairs, the croissants, how to fold a croissant the traditional way, how to make different tarts, just all the beautiful French pastries that people want to learn how to do, and you can't even buy, right? There are not many places where we are where you can just walk in the door and buy an eclair. So if you want an eclair, there's somebody actually on Facebook this week saying, where can I get a good eclair? It's like, make it yourself, come to school. And, right?
Sure.
And that way at least you can choose your flavors, choose your colors.
Yeah.
Because, eclairs, when you have pistachio, there's so many fun colors and flavors you can do, and the only way to really get that choice is to make it yourself.
You know what I really want is a Boston cream pie.
Oh, yeah.
I want a Boston cream pie. I saw a picture of one somewhere recently in a food magazine or something. I thought, I haven't had that before. And a Boston cream pie is not a pie. It's a cake. But and I read why they call it a pie. It has something to do with originally the pans they made it in were pie pans. They originally made it in
custard in the middle.
It's all kinds of custard.
Yeah.
And then there's a chocolate. It's not real thick frosting. It's a thin. I don't know what you call that. Really thin chocolate that you can drizzle over the whole thing. There's a name for it.
Not
I think.
ganache.
Not ganache. No, ganache is kind of thick. It's
and it hardens, but yeah.
Huh. I can't.
Glaze, a chocolate glaze.
Yeah, kind of like a chocolate glaze that you just. But it's a yellow sponge cake. Really porous, a lot of cream. That what do you call it? Pastry cream? Is that what you call it?
I think so. That would probably be what's in
Like
there.
what you would go in which would go in a
like an eclair.
yeah, that kind of stuff, and then you drizzle it with and then you eat it, and it's
It's amazing.
But I don't even remember where I've had it. But that's just great stuff. Speaking about making your own eclairs, I went to a class with my child once to show you how to make your own Queen Amman,
Oh yes.
which we did, and did it. And we went and bought the special, because you need sort of you make them in muffin tins, but it's big. They're big muffin. The
Kinda
holes are bigger.
oversized.
Yeah, oversized. And so we went to the class and made them, and then we went home and made them once, and that's it.
That's all you need to do is that one time.
It's really hard. It's really hard to make a Queen Amman, but they were great. But it's so hard to find the time to do all of this. And let's go back to you were talking about the pastry, and then there was another.
Oh,
course.
the third certificate combines the pastry and baking side and the savory side. And so when you do the professional certificate in the culinary arts, you're actually doing both. And so you learn how to make sweet and you learn how to make savory, and so you get the full exposure to all those different techniques.
So you come here to the and work with chefs who know what they're doing and how to teach you how to do it.
Exactly. Or you could do it online. A lot of students, we have students all over the country who are now doing it online.
Oh, that's great.
So you mean, but it's a visual. You set them up, and somebody is talking them through. You say, go get all these ingredients, and then come back here, and it's like a Zoom call or something.
Yeah, we've alternated between Zoom and email, but that's basically the idea. And they're working from their own kitchen, and they can tweak things. Like
That's kind of a good idea. Yeah, I like that. That's excellent. Now, what else can we do here at the Park City Culinary Institute? This is a space that you use it for other things, don't you?
We do. We host cooking competitions. We get corporate groups that bring in their teams for team building, and so we'll do a cooking competition, cooking classes. People will request certain things, like I want to learn Persian food, so we'll teach them how to cook Persian food.
Really?
Yeah. And then we have like dietary requests. We get medical groups that'll come in and say, we need a very specific diet. We want to teach our customers, because they're on this new drug, or they have to change their diet, how to cook without these 2 or 3 things. And so we'll give them a cooking class based on that.
What if I came to you and I said, Laurie, this is what I would like to do, and I noticed this in your questionnaire here thing that we ask people a few questions. What could you? Oh, if you could eliminate one food, what would it be and why? Eggplant, spongy. Now,
Spongy.
I assume not
I like that.
not eggplant generally, but spongy eggplant.
All eggplant is spongy. I mean, yes, you can kind of reduce some of the water content and you can play with it, but it's just this kind of flavorless, spongy thing that people add garlic and flavor to. But at the end of the day, it's still just a sponge.
So, but what if I came to you and said, Laurie, I've always wanted to learn how to cook with eggplant.
With eggplant, then I'd have to teach you. I would do it.
And you could do it.
I could do it.
Yeah.
We do it all the time.
Every once in a while, I find that happen. In my life. Some years ago, I was at the grocery and I saw leeks, and I see these leeks all the time. I go, I've never used a leek in my life.
No?
Maybe I ought to find out what I can do with those.
Taken a few, but
And yeah,
Leeks? Are you seriously? You've never used a leek?
as of 10 years ago.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
this-
We've gotten past that point now.
Oh yeah, no.
Good.
So I bought some, and the way I found that I really liked them the best is the way I did them initially, and it just braised leeks. Just braised them in oil and or butter, and with I think you put some lemon juice in there at the very end, and they're just they're just sweet and delicious and great. But then I've also learned to use them in various recipes and soups and stews.
Vichyssoise. Have you made that yet?
Never have. As a matter of fact, I know the name vichyssoise, and I don't really know what it is.
It's leeks and potatoes. That's it.
That's it?
Yeah. That's it. Super easy to make. It's served cold. And there's something about the heartiness of the potato. Like potatoes and onions are always good, right?
Yeah.
So leeks, and potatoes are going to be as good as onions, just not as strong as an onion would be. So it's a more gentle flavor. But
Should I ask you for your recipe, or should I just look some up?
Oh, I'll send you one.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
yeah, yeah.
all right. Because now, see, I'm going to do it. I'll do it. But that's interesting. Go to the grocery store, and it's particularly in the produce department.
Yeah.
And you
There's
look
a
for
big-
produce. You look for produce that you have no idea what to do with it or how to do with it, and figure out how to. Why are there rutabagas? Find out, and parsnips. Turns out I love parsnips. I love parsnips. You roast them, and they're sweet and nutty and just excellent.
They're so good as a puree, and then you could really elevate your plating. I mean, that's one thing you do in culinary school is you learn how to elevate your plating. The difference between a restaurant and cooking at home is that at home, most people will put your meat, your vegetable, and your potato or your starch on the plate, and that's it, they're done. You go to a restaurant, you have a sauce, you're looking for height, focal point, and parsnip puree is such a beautiful base for that canvas.
I've had that, yeah.
It really makes a difference, and it adds 5-10 minutes to what you're doing. But if you cook like that at home, can you imagine, like entertaining your friends or what your family would say? And so those kind of things are really a huge change after culinary school.
Park City Culinary Institute. Now, if people want to find out more about this, where do they go?
To parkcityculinaryinstitute.com.
Simple as that. Let's get to this. The Real Housewives of Salt Lake. How did this happen?
I'm going to need a drink to talk about.
Now, we do an update on our daily show about the Real Housewives of Salt Lake. We have a woman she's an attorney. She lives in Chicago. She loves the Real Housewives franchise, and she loves the Real Housewives of Salt Lake. She thinks it's probably the best one. And so once a week, she comes on our show and tells us what happened, so we don't have to watch it, because I don't want to watch it. But she said, she talked about they came to the Park City Culinary Institute, and I said, oh, we've done some events with them, and it's a great place, and Park City Culinary Institute is terrific. And so how did that happen that they came here?
So I knew one of the producers, and he recommended that they come here for a cooking class. And it was so much fun. It was in the middle of COVID, though, so it was really hard to film because we couldn't be together. And so a lot of us were actually, including myself, locked in an office. It was kind of funny that they would put 4 people in an office to protect us from COVID, an office that's 9 by 9 feet. And we had masks on, and we were sitting on the floor because we're so cramped in there because they didn't want us to infect the stars.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you're in the office the whole time. They're out here singing. I mean, there was this whole big fun cooking class with music, and people were singing. And, they would let us out for 30 seconds at a time.
And it ends up being like a 5-minute segment on the show or something after hours and hours of work, right?
Yeah. Should I expose what happened?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can
please.
I talk about it?
Yeah,
I
sure.
hope I didn't sign a contract.
Yeah, you can say.
Well, I'm sure it's been on since,
Yeah,
right?
it has. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
aired.
hopefully it's okay that I say this. So we were locked in our offices, and there was somebody here overnight who actually prepared beautiful table settings for their cooking class, but I guess the lighting wasn't good, so the producers had to move the table settings. And so when they moved the table settings to a different location, they put all the forks and knives in the wrong places. I don't know if they did it on purpose. I don't know. All I know is I'm locked in an office, and they say, hey, come on out. And I'm like, okay. And I come out, and the first thing that anyone says to me is Mary looks at me, and she's like, Laurie, all of the forks and knives are in the wrong places.
And this is supposed to be a culinary place.
Oh, they're throwing it on you, huh?
Yeah.
I see.
They throw shade on you.
Yeah. No, that was a setup.
That's typical of those housewives. That's typical of them. They'll always do that kind of thing.
Oh, that's funny.
Let's see what else we want to talk about here. ParkCityCulinaryInstitute.com. If you want to learn basic cooking skills, more advanced cooking skills. Maybe you're just interested in learning to make your own pastries. I want to stay home and eat my own eclairs. You can do that.
Did you see the wildest thing Laurie's eaten?
Oh, I did.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, how I didn't quite understand it. So it says the wildest thing you've ever. I was served a skull in a bowl in West Africa,
Yeah.
and you mean the skull was the bowl? Is that
The skull was in the bowl.
what?
I didn't see meat. It wasn't like it was skull with like meat. It was basically a skull like from Halloween.
A human?
Not a human skull, no. It was probably a goat, but it's a shared dish. So in West Africa, I was in Benin. You share your dishes, right? So you have like a shared plate and you're dipping. Usually it's a starch, like I think it's cassava root that you kind of have like this mushy starch and you dip it in a sauce and you're all sharing from the same plate. But the centerpiece of the plate was a skull. And so there was maybe a sauce around it that we were dipping the cassava in, but the centerpiece was a skull. And I think they ordered it on purpose because it was me there, right? Like, I don't think that was an accident.
Let's scare 'em. Oh, my God.
No,
Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of hitting the skull.
I've read about that before now, and what they do, there's meat on the face of the animal, on the skull. And so it's in the pot for a long time until it all cooks off, and then they just to prove that they've this is authentic. We've done this.
Okay.
That means just that we're not trying to cheat you here. We've really cooked all the meat off the face of this thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know they didn't explain that to me at all.
And there's also a Rolling Stones album. Look it up when we're done here. It's called Goat's Head Soup.
No.
And on
Really?
the cover of it's a big bowl of soup with a goat's head in it. And that's the name of the album.
That's hysterical.
Goat's Head Soup. And
was it.
And it's something that they had somewhere, probably very akin to what your experience.
It was so cool. When I was traveling around Africa, I was actually in a different part of Africa. And we were there for a week or two, and this lovely lady wanted to thank us because we were doing volunteer work. And she's like, I have a gift for you. And we're like, oh, that's so sweet. You don't have to give us anything. And she's like, it's a goat. Let me put it on the top of your car. And
A dead goat, I assume.
I don't remember if it was dead or alive. All I know is that we could not accommodate taking a goat on the top of our car for our 1 week trip to Uganda. Like, it was like, what do you do with a goat? Where are you going to cook it? Like, who's going to break it down?
Pay the tolls along the way.
Goat meat is okay as far as I'm concerned, except it's usually there's too many bones. Have you ever?
I've had goat meat. I love it.
Yeah, but if usually there's a lot of bones in there, and you have to kind of pick through that, which I don't care for. The meat's fine, but I don't like the bones. I don't care for it.
But people say that the bone is where the flavor is, right?
Sure.
That the closer the meat is to the bone, the more flavor you're going to have. So arguably, if you had 4 hours to pick through it, you'd be getting more flavorful meat.
That's absolutely true. My grandfather always, back in the day, the most popular kind of steak, I don't know what the cut is, but it always had a big bone in there. A marrow
in
bone.
the center.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Or to the side,
Ribeye or something.
Well, I forget what they called
Not
it.
T-bone?
No, it's not popular anymore. But it's
I know what you're saying.
Like
it's
a round
that,
steak or something.
Yeah,
I think round.
Oh,
round
Chateaubriand, that one? That's an old cut.
But it has a big marrow bone in it, and my grandmother would cook up the steak, and he'd take that marrow bone and just suck all the marrow right out of it. He loved that. And Ryan Lauder over at Copper Onion, that's still.
They have it, yeah.
Bone marrow.
You can get bone marrow, which it's really good. I don't know how many people order it, but I like it. You put it on a little cracker or something, and it's excellent.
It is really good. I bet a lot of people do. I think the foodies in Utah, they go to the places that accommodate them.
Yeah.
I think they do.
Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else here on this? Oh, this is interesting to me too. You teach people how to make ricotta and their own fresh mozzarella.
We do, yeah.
That's really terrific.
It's so much fun.
Is it hard?
No, it's so easy. Yeah, both of them are pretty easy cheeses. Sometimes things get wonky with the milk if you try to do it from scratch with mozzarella.
Yeah.
So we start with the curd and we pull the curd. So we kind of eliminate the scarier step, the one that's less predictable. But fresh ricotta is nothing like it. It's so it's easy and it's good.
And then I also have this question: what would you feed your worst enemy? Boiled Brussels sprouts.
Yep.
What could you eat for eternity? Boiled Brussels sprouts. Why?
Want to keep them all to yourself?
Raised Brussels sprouts.
It says boiled here.
Oh, it got
boiled and boiled.
transferred down.
Yeah.
Oh, it got transferred
So
down.
you say
yeah,
braised,
yeah.
okay.
I would say braised, yeah. Because, it's so funny. My grandmother would always say, eat your Brussels sprouts, but she would boil them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was torture, and it never occurred to her to just burn them, like
Yeah.
marshmallows. Burn those things. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Caramelize them.
No, when I was a kid, I liked them. That's how they were boiled. But I liked them anyway.
Did
I thought,
you?
yeah, I thought they were delicious. I cut them up and put butter on them and a little vinegar. And I
Oh,
loved
yeah.
them.
Doctor it up like that. That would be
I
better.
loved them. But then when I discovered, braising them, and last night at dinner when we went to this restaurant, we had deep fried Brussels sprouts with harissa.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, they were
sauteed.
good.
That's what I meant. Not braising. Sauteed. Because you
Sauteed.
really want that caramelized layer on it. Yeah, that
They're
makes
good.
such a huge difference.
You can actually even air fry them pretty successfully if you want to do that. But it's really better if you can do it in some oil and butter.
Yeah, butter.
And butter in anything. It's what does this need? Butter.
And European butter. We only cook with European butter at
really?
the school and at my house, like always.
Explain to
European.
people what the difference is.
American butter is white and waxy. European butter is gold and melts in your mouth, and it's because it has that higher fat content. I think Beehive actually, don't they use cows that have a higher fat content?
They
for
do
their,
up
for
in
their cheese?
northern Ogden, yeah, and it's the shrub that they feed on as well. So yeah, the shrub grass, but the brush,
Sagebrush.
It's a
Sagebrush.
Jersey cow, right?
I believe it is.
They're using
Yeah.
a Jersey cow, which is known to have like 6% butter fat, something like that. I hope I'm not misquoting it, but it really changes because of that higher fat, it changes the flavor.
So when you go to the grocery store, that you can buy like Kerrygold.
Yes, that's
And
the one you want.
And that's an Irish, I think, butter, isn't it? So, yeah, and it has and there's another one or two that you can see in the grocery that have higher, but it costs you more money, but it's certainly worth it.
It's worth it, yeah.
And
Changes your life.
and you know what? You don't have to keep your butter in the refrigerator.
That's true too. Yeah,
That's-
it's nice and soft outside the fridge.
Yeah, people and I one day I saw an ad in a magazine for a butter crock, and I what? So what you? And then it says, yeah, you just put your butter in there and
We have one
it
for
on
the
counter.
in-laws when they come over. We do a half a stick of butter, put it in the crock. It starts melting down, and we just peel it in. What you do is you turn it upside down. The butter's in this cavity, and then you fill the base with a little water to keep it moist. And then when you pour it up, you just spoon it out. They love that. Yeah.
Laurie Moldawer, we could talk food experiences and you remember this food and that food and when we did this and when we did that. Let me ask you one final question, then we'll go to a splash of news. What are you going to have for dinner today?
That is such a good question. I have no idea. I have no idea.
You gonna be going out?
Probably.
Okay.
Well, I went to Rue last night. If they're probably open on Sunday, try that.
I might need to try that. That sounded really nice.
It was good. We had pork belly and with poached pears. With the pork belly, so there were like 3 or 4 pieces of good-sized pieces of pork belly, and then these poached pears, delicious. And the Brussels sprouts were good, and the pappardelle was good, obviously homemade.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Had to be, and it was cooked just right. That pasta, it was like you put it in your mouth, and there's just kind of this little nice chew to it. That's
That's
really
what you
good.
need.
Yeah. So try that place.
Rue, I will.
All right, Park City Culinary Institute.com. Okay. Splash of news?
All right. We had fun with the splash of news. I wanted to get your guys' input on this. 7 things kitchen pros regret putting on their wedding registration or registry, and what to buy instead. So these are kind of fun. So let's see what we got here. Skip the food processor and request or get a nice, here it says, sur la table kitchen essentials 10-piece cookware set instead, rather than the food processor. Nice pots and pans, right? Nice pots and pans. That's practical. Skip the standing mixer because you use it a few times, but it's not going to be in your rotation a while. But instead, get a nice 6-quart Dutch oven, like those dark blue, the French Dutch ovens. So
Le Cuisine.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
those
Like
are
so.
pretty.
We use our standing mixer a lot, though.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you do a lot of breads?
Well, my child does a lot of baking, and
Okay.
so
Very
use
nice.
that a lot.
Those are fun.
Skip the formal china and get instead a nice glass storage containers with all matching lids.
They have to match. It's so important.
You know,
I hate when things don't match.
you know, I'm sort of a little old lady in certain respects, and I've always really liked china. People who have fine china sets, you know, your grandmother had, and she'd only bring it out a couple of times a year, you know, and I just have always loved that. And my wife is just, you know, we buy 20 white plates that look the same from Costco. That's what we do. You know, it's just we don't need anything fancy. But I really like. So my sister-in-law one time ran across almost a complete set of Limoges
Wow.
china at a estate sale and bought it for me, and it wasn't very expensive. And so I have this Limoges china.
Nice.
And
Just
I
for
love
you.
it. I love it. And we don't use it all the time, but we use it fairly often. I love it.
That's what's trending. People are starting to assemble mismatching china like they do in Japan, and going to estate
like that.
sales and going to vintage shops and just 10 different plates that are the same
That's-
size but
that's
totally
cool.
different
That's
patterns.
cool, yeah.
It's beautiful. And crystal, you know, the same size but totally different patterns, or just a couple of these and a couple of that. Restaurants are doing it, people are doing it, and it's so much fun.
Here, another quick china story. So I had this boss once. He's a very eccentric guy, not the same guy with the fax machine. Very eccentric boss, and he moved here from New York, I think, and he brought all of his stuff with him, and I'm helping him move into his house, and I had all this china set, these the carrying things that have fine china in it, and I said, Gordon, what kind of china is this? And he said, oh, it's Wedgwood. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yes, it's a very special Wedgwood. It's there are only 6 sets made, and the Wedgwood people keep trying to buy it back from me, but I won't let them.
Wow.
It's mine. And I said, well, that's incredible, man. You must be really careful with it. When do you ever use it? He said, I use it every day, dear boy. Every day. It's to eat off of. So I liked that philosophy.
Some Wedgwood is dishwasher safe.
No, I don't know if this probably was not, and I think he said there were only 6 sets, and he was not a liar. The company was trying to buy it back from him all the time. They knew he had it, and
Oh my gosh.
I wonder where it is now. He passed. I wonder if they got
They got their hands on
Or
it.
it got thrown out because the kids were like,
my
we
God.
can't deal with this.
Yeah.
We're just gonna throw everything out.
Just a couple more. This one I don't like. Skip the wine decanter.
Well, yeah, but
How often do you use it? See,
I
I
know.
like the replacement. Instead, get an oven-to-table oval serving platter. So this is where you can put your platter in the oven with your food on it, on warm. The platter is warm.
Yeah.
Take that out, and then you set it on like a wooden dowel kind of a thing to keep it. That makes sense.
Yeah,
It's not electric. you
who
know, it's,
decants
you know.
wine really anymore?
I did last night,
There you go.
literally.
Really? I don't. It's never around long enough. I mean, I just.
Well, the cork got stuck, so we didn't have much of a choice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was Chef Frody's birthday party. You know Frody, right?
Yes, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was at his birthday party, and the cork got stuck, so we had to jam it further
Oh,
in
no.
and then decant it so that we weren't drinking
Call
cork
Jimmy
all
the wine
night.
guy.
Oh, you really
It's
called
that. We have an emergency.
Frody the sausage maker.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Skip floral decorated wine glasses. Instead, get a classic set of wine glasses,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Skip the pizza stone and get a powered pizza oven. It's kind of cool. Skip the measuring cups and splurge on an expensive candle that will fill the home with luxury aromas.
No. The aroma
geez.
is. You shouldn't have that if you're cooking a fine meal. That's what you want the aroma to be.
That's
True.
Not being overpowered by some stupid Yankee candle. and
Cinnamon spice.
And you shouldn't have candles in your home anyway because they're dangerous.
They're actually illegal in Park City.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for Park
At least
City.
at restaurants. You can't. Have
Wow.
you noticed that? That
I
restaurants
have
never
not.
have real candles.
We
Holy
have
cow.
Yeah.
we have a bunch of fake candles that they've gotten to the point where sometimes you can't tell the difference. You go to a restaurant that has a really nice fake candle, you almost can't tell the difference.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
are nice. But you're right. Like real chefs don't want any sort of aroma in the air besides their cooking, right? You don't want to have like cologne on. That would be sacrilegious in a true restaurant.
Right.
kitchen.
You don't want to smell good or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's your splash of news.
All right. Let's see. I guess we can wrap it up here. Although, again, we could sit here and just do this for another hour. I think it's really quite fun talking about food, and talking about your experiences, and you have had great experiences in. You alluded to it a little bit in Africa, but you worked for charity group there and fed people and.
Did a lot of fun stuff there, and tasted the food around 16, 17 different countries in Africa. Yeah, that was amazing.
It's great. It's my wife says wherever we go, that's her first consideration. What will the food be like there? I want to find the good restaurants that are there. What's the cuisine of the place we're going to see? What's considered best, and that's how we travel usually. Laurie Moldawer, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Bill. So much fun.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
You are welcome.
So much fun
Our
seeing
pleasure.
you.
Yes, absolutely.
Those are nice glasses.
They are.
Well,
Cheers, everyone.
have another. No, it's not have another drink. This is.
All right,
Let's go
one.
eat and drink.
Let's wrap this up here. This is the Let's Go Eat and Drink show. Join us and have a drink unless somebody drinks yours first. Just send us an email to the Let's Go Eat Show at gmail.com. Is the website active?
Yeah, it's active.
So is it Let's Go Eat? It's the Let's Go Eat Drink show. Let's Go Eat Drink show at Weebly?
.weebly.com.
.weebly.com. WEEBLY. So let's go eat drink show.weebly.com. Thank you to everybody who helps produce the show. Thank you, Dawson, for doing that. And back at the studio, you all know who you are, so thank you.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers. Salute.
You need more wine in that glass.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Let's Go Eat and Drink Show with Jimmy Santangelo and Bill Allred. Comments, questions, or angry complaints to the management should be directed to the Let's Go Eat Show at gmail.com. The Let's Go Eat and Drink Show is a Double Plus production and was produced on site by Dawson Dow. The Let's Go Eat and Drink theme was composed and performed by Doug Wild. I'm Zach Caton, and I'm a passable chef, but anytime I touch anything with mushrooms, magic happens. Mushroom soup, stuffed mushrooms. I guess that's it. Maybe I should go to the Institute and they can teach me more mushroom recipes.